the level and standards of property management for short-term rentals over the past 2 years has really, really gone down. In markets like yours, which are really competitive, you have to provide a really good service.
What you should focus on is becoming the expert in that market. Double down on that market. We're doing more of like a roll-up strategy where we're taking multiple management companies, putting them into one place, and then making it more valuable and getting more market dominations.
What's going on, STR Nations? This is your host and brother from another mother, Emmanuel Pani, here with the man himself, Mr. Mike Riley. What's going on, Ralph?
My brother, I'm pumped for next week with WealthCon. A lot of prep has been going on, and I'm just finishing up all my slides for my talk. So we're doing a 4-hour workshop on how to go from just a few properties for co-hosting and then all the way up to over 100 units and kind of the different stages that you go through. So my talk is going to be the first hour, so 8 to 9:15 on acquiring properties. So how to build a sales funnel and attract properties that serve you and your business, and just go through like the process that we have. And then also it'll be cool too, because it won't just be me talking. I'll have Lindsay and Andrew Rodriguez, Merritt Harris, Ryan Leak, and Rashmi on stage with me as well, talking through their experience as well, because everybody has a different experience on how they've acquired properties. And so having their thoughts and expertise is going to be pretty fun too. So, but I'm overall just super pumped. For any listeners out there that are going, we're throwing a big party Wednesday night at DraftKings Social on 2nd Ave as well, 7 o'clock Central. So come hang out and be part of the family for a couple hours. It'll be a good time.
Yeah, absolutely. The other beautiful thing is Rashmi is also running a boutique hotel workshop alongside with Joel, Weagle, and Isaac, and Mike, of course. So if you guys are thinking about getting the boutique hotel space as well, we're running another workshop of 4 hours with them as well. And so it's just going to be a ton of value. I want to say I'm sad that I'm missing it. I am not really sad because time home has been amazing. I had all my cousins here for lunch today, so I'm very, very grateful to be here where I am. So it's interesting, right? Because as time has gone on and I've grown up, I experience much more of that joy and pleasure of missing out versus the fear of missing out. I don't suffer from FOMO quite as much as I used to when I was younger. Now I'm mostly like, yay, I get to do what I love. And you know what's funny? I've been here now for it's been about a month and a half, and I've been swimming a lot. And I've been doing a lot of open swims, and I've done an Ironman. So swimming is something that I'm really, really comfortable with. And you're an athlete too, Riley. So I'm curious your perspective on this. But I find being an athlete is something that kind of remains with you throughout life. And I also find that I think the most when I'm working out. And that's why I love working out so much. And so I always find lessons in workouts, especially long distance workouts. Because again, if you're in the water for 45 minutes, 50 minutes to an hour, your brain it sounds similar to running, right? Like once you get past the first 1 or 2 miles, your brain just kind of switches out. And there's been 3 lessons that I've taken away from swimming this last month and a half that I think are so applicable to business. So when I first started, I would swim always the same direction. And then I realized that I could see where the current was going and swim against the current first and then come back with the current behind me, which made the swim a lot more enjoyable, which is kind of the concept in business, right? Of starting doing the things that are right but hard first, and then the rest of your business journey is going to be easier. The second thing is that smooth is fast. So I realized that anytime I try to like splash around too much, I actually go slower than when I'm just gliding. So very similar concept too, right? It's just like the little things, just making sure that your business is running smoothly is way more important than trying to do things that you think are making you fast and they're loud and clunky and instead are not taking you anywhere. Part 3 is when you're out of rhythm, just take a second and reset. Because there is moments that the waves come and they splash me in the face and I start drinking water, that if I continue to swim and I don't take a second to take a breather, I'm out of breath for the rest of the time. Whereas instead, if I take a second and reset my rhythm, it's a lot easier. So similar to a lot of people that are in business, that you start overworking and you're trying to go into power versus force, right? You're trying to force things to happen. Just take a second, take a breath, step away from the problem. In my case, is the water splashing in my face, and just reset. So after the little rant, we had Patryk Swietek on the show. And this is the second time we have Patryk on the show. Patryk started in our mastermind many, many years ago, but he's mostly famous now for being the mayor of Joshua Tree. Patryk, to me, has been a great example of the power of niching down. We know a lot of people, they want to start property management company across multiple markets, and he didn't do that. The power of proper partnership and in trusting your partners, because him and his partner have very different roles. Patryk is very much an outward-facing person, so he was great. And he also gave us a really interesting tip on working with production companies, and a very specific type of production company as well that you guys definitely want to be listening for. Riley, what was your biggest takeaway from Patryk and the growth that he has experienced over the last couple of years?
I mean, Patryk is, I don't know exactly how old he is. I would say probably like 27 or 28, but he's many, many years beyond that immaturity. I think he's always one of those guys that's just been the youngest to do things. And I think it's because he finds what he wants to do and is very clear and finds who's already done that before and just learns from them. And I think that's one of the strongest traits that all of us can have, whether it's working out or, get in shape or learning a new sport or learning a new language or picking up something new. That's going to be hard at the beginning. The shortcut is by doing what Patryk does. And he's done that consistently throughout. He found people that have acquired management companies in the past, picked their brain, and he acquired a management company, right? He was like, hey, this is how I scale the fastest. That's the first big thing that stood out to me and has always I've always admired that about him. And then the second thing is he's become a person of interest. And I know he talks about this a lot, but people are interested in what he has to say, and he'll say things that are a little off the wall from, like, I guess normalcy is whatever we want to call it. Like, there's some things that he's going to talk about today that we're going to be like, wow, that's a little different, but he thinks about those things ahead of time, and he understands how it's going to affect his brand. And I think he does a really, really good job of brand management. And I really admire that about him too. Just all the content that he creates, and he just serves people and is very, like you said, outward, and it just really good energy all around. So I know the listeners are really going to enjoy this podcast today. And if you ever get the chance to meet him in person too, he's just a great dude to hang out with.
Yeah, he has a huge personality, and that really comes through in the way that he's managing as well. And so I was very inspired by him and the show. And every time I talk to him, right, he has this very childlike energy as to how he's handling the business. And he looks like he has fun, which I think I talk about this a lot. I think some people are missing the mark when it comes to co-hosting and building businesses, that they're not having fun. And again, if you're doing this just for the money, I would really urge you to do something else, because it's not going to go well for you. Because long term, the moment that it really gets difficult, you're not embodying hospitality, you're not embodying customer service, you're not embodying doing it for the right reason. And instead, Patryk has the childlike energy, and he's really much committed to becoming the best at what he does in his market and doing fun things and having fun along the way. And so, without further ado, we welcome Patryk Swietek.
Hey, how's it going?
Amazing, man.
For me.
Amazing. So, the last time we had you on the show was in 2023. So, I know you've been through a couple of years, a lot of growth, a lot of acquisition. So, give our listeners a little rundown of what the last 2 years have been like for you in taking over Joshua Tree and being the official mayor, or at least trying to be the official mayor of the Joshua Tree market.
Yeah, so good question. I mean, it's been a wild year and a half now, is it? Or 2 years? I acquired management company number 3, really put us on the map, consolidated everything. We're doing more of like a roll-up strategy where we're taking multiple management companies, putting them into one place, and then making it more valuable and getting more market domination, so they're all within the same market. I'm actually in escrow on management company number 4 currently. It's been quite a wild ride. I think when you start getting into the space of the roll-up, and really understanding how these different companies function, you start seeing the pros and cons of how things run, because each company that we buy runs differently. And so that insight has been really instrumental to really shaping the way that we run things today. We take the best of all worlds and then combine it. On top of that, we've been doing a lot of research across the board on how I did a whole analysis on Airbnb. I pulled a list of all of the property management companies across the country, and I found the companies that have the highest revenue per listing. So anything over 200 listings, so at scale, having high revenues and high ADRs, but also, here's the kicker, can maintain a 4.9 or above score. So there's only a few companies that have done that, and we've been researching and talking to them about how they were able to do this at scale and be successful at it. So we've been very, very diligent on measuring metrics and trying to become the best of the best. We want to become in a position where it's a no-brainer for them to work with us, and we don't want to lose that quality as we scale and we grow, because that's something that we see a lot with these bigger co-hosting companies. Today, we're currently at 120 signed contracts. We do around $8 to $10 million in booked revenue per year. We are in escrow on, like I said, in number 4. That's going to put us over like at around 150 units under management. So we're in a good place, really exciting, and I'm just excited to dive in with you guys.
That's amazing, man.
Yeah, man. Yeah. Real quick on that. So I wasn't a part of the last conversation or the last podcast, but 2 quick questions for folks that are, looking at buying management companies. Like, how do you approach a management company to buy them? That's the first question. And then the second one is, what like valuations are you looking at? What multiples are you looking at to buy these companies for?
Yeah, great questions, and we can have a whole conversation just on this, but I'll touch briefly on it. With in terms of the multiples, what we're seeing is when a company is a lot smaller, it's usually an asset-based sale, right? So you're usually like, what is the asset with a management company? It's the contracts. The contracts are really important. So do you have month-to-month contracts? Do you have year-long contracts? Whatever that case may be, that's really something that we look forward to is how strong are those contracts and what kind of properties you have locked in those contracts. So valuation off of the contracts usually go off of 1x to 1.5x of the management multiple. So when I say management revenue multiple, I mean, okay, let's say the property makes $100,000 a year. It's a 20% contract. You're making $20,000 that year as a management company. Therefore, the valuation is between $20,000 to $30,000. So that's how you can buy these smaller companies. Once they get a little bit bigger, then you go off of the EBITDA. And so EBITDA is earnings before interest, taxes, depreciation, and amortization. It's a fancy way of saying net. We really just encompass like, okay, let's say they make $250,000 EBITDA, so like around net. So you're probably going off of a 3x multiple. So it's $750,000 worth of a company that you're buying. Once you get into the bigger space, right, like where we're at right now, once you get like over $1 million, you start going into the 5x multiples in terms of valuations. And so 5x and $1.5-2 million, you can get, even into the 7x multiples. So it just really depends on how big the company and how much establishment you have. So that differs. What was your first question again?
Yeah, the first one was just how do you approach those companies that you're looking to buy?
So usually in the beginning, it just fell in my lap. How people do it now and how I teach people how to acquire management companies really revolves around the idea of doing off market for the most part, because a lot of people don't realize they can sell their management company. They're in a tough position. They don't know that they can sell their management company. We've gone through this whole swing of like the craziness, right? We had normal times in 2018, 2019, 2020 came, shut down. Nobody was getting anything. And then 2021, 2022, all of a sudden you're getting crazy amounts of business. And then you're back down to 2023, 2024. And 2025. So people are just like, hey, I don't know if there's even out with this, right? And so I think providing that solution for a lot of these people is actually enticing, especially for the smaller managers, the like 20 unit, 30 units. So that's like where the money is. And that's what I always advise people. For me, I was, I just blessed with just approaching people within my own market and grabbing lunch with them because I want to be friendly with the people that are operating in my market, right? There are other co-hosts or managers. And I sat down to lunch with this one manager and he wasn't really thinking about selling. Vacasa approached him, and some of these other bigger management companies approached him to buy him, but he just never really saw that as a potential opportunity because he didn't want to just give away his company and sell out. And that's a very common thing, by the way. But he wanted somebody to carry the torch. And the moment that we met, like he felt comfortable with telling me, "Hey, listen, I was never looking to sell, but I honestly, you guys would be the people that I would sell to if I would, you know?" And I was like, "Hey, let's chat." And so we started chatting some more, and we got a really good idea of what that would look like. And they were extremely amazing to work with and to teach us everything that they've learned over the 6, 7 years that they've been out here. And to get these incredible properties and being able to carry that torch, like, add on and make things even better than he left it. It was kind of the goal. So
Yeah. And I think that's a big theme. And you and I have talked about this too, of like, there's these massive management companies, whether Vacasa, Evolve. Vacasa is making some changes, obviously, with Costco acquiring them. But, um, just the level and standards of property management for short-term rentals over the past few years has really, really gone down. And in markets like yours in Joshua Tree, which are really competitive, you have to provide a really good service. So how do you differentiate in such a saturated market for you and your company, but also do that at scale with over 100 contracts?
I mean, that's the golden question, right, Mike? There's a lot of things you can do, of course. I think co-hosts will always enter the market, especially a market like Joshua Tree, where you have a lot of people that are really creative. There's a lot of money coming from, LA, San Francisco, San Diego, coming to build these incredible homes. And then you also have all these people that want to enter the market and be co-hosts. And there's a lot of these smaller operators that are very dialed in and know what they're doing. So you can't just go after a Vacasa or a Evolve in that market. They're non-existent, really. They can't really compete in that market because it's just so competitive for how good you have to be. And so to just manage the property and pop it up on Airbnb is like you're not going to be able to do it. If you have an ability to co-host and to be boots on the ground and maintain the property, it's great, but it's not enough. You have to really go above and beyond. You have to know the thing with people that go into that market is you have to be a full service, right? So I think that's what we've been very focused on is when people come to us, there are people that are, for example, managing in other markets that will come to us and still let us manage those properties because we are just so good at our market and what we do that it makes all the sense. Like we're going to make way more money than somebody else that comes in and says, "Oh, well, I have some in Florida, I can do it here." And for example, I have this guy that came in, great. He was a great self-manager. He had his Florida rentals, follows all the stuff, STR podcasts, all these, I don't know if he's listening to this, but he follows everything that you need to do. Reached out to me, wanted to buy something, and connected him with the realtor and kind of like, "Hey, like we're gonna do all these things," and he did all these things, and then he didn't end up working with me, and I was like, that's fine, but I'm telling you, it's gonna hurt you. And granted, his calendar is wide open. He's hurting. He's losing money, and I know that house should be. I mean, it's probably doing like 3, 4 thousand. It should be doing like 12, 13, 14,000. But the thing is, he doesn't know that, and he can't do anything about it. And right now, we're in conversations about potentially managing it because really, it's going to continuously hurt him to self-manage. But that's not to say that there aren't people that can do that. There's definitely people that can self-manage that market. I'm not saying I'm the best of the best, but I'm saying is in this market, if what you should focus on is becoming the expert in that market. So whatever market you choose, double down on that market and choose that one market and become the expert in that market. So like pricing, revenue management aspects, granted listing optimization, but understanding like who are the best of the best photographers, who are the best of the best people to work with in that market is huge. And also building out your network of all functions of the buying process, right? So like getting a realtor on your team that's perfect, dialed in, that understands your vision, understands who you're with. We have this guy named Clayton, amazing freaking realtor. I'm happy to connect anybody that wants to enter the market because he's the best. He's the only one that can sell things at the high levels. He has all the off-market listings. We work hand in hand together. We know exactly what works. We know exactly what doesn't. We know exactly what you need to do. He puts the people in the right place, right? So that's important. You put them in the right place. Then we get the right person to do the permitting stuff. We get the right person to we know all of the people in the office that, handle the permits to make sure like it gets through and what they're looking for and what they're not looking for. Like all these little nuances, like to be able to know everybody in the market and to understand the full scope of how to go through the whole process in that market is going to be super important for the buyers, so that not only managing the property and doing that function in the management, but helping them to get the permits, to be able to do the right amenities with the construction and getting the right construction crew out there, right? People get burned by construction crews all the time. So having that holistic view, it makes it a no-brainer to work with somebody like you, because you are the one that's going to open up all of those doors for that person that's coming in. And I think that's the first step. The second step is going beyond that, right? So what things are we doing that nobody else is doing and that a small manager can't do because they don't have the scale, and a big manager can do because they have the cash coming in to do it across the whole portfolio? So additional services is one, right? So you have, we do production connections. That's something that not everyone can really hone in on. It takes a lot of time to develop these relationships, but we have LA close by to us. There's a lot of production that's happening. And so like getting photo shoots, getting midweek like $3,000 to $5,000 a day shoots is huge for our clients, because that can add a lot of revenue. They're usually weekdays. Those connections are something you have to harness. Like they're not going to just give it away to anybody. You want to have a relationship with them to be able to get the right properties for them. And so that opens up doors for a lot of people. If we can get, Jason Derulo to do a music video at your property, there's a good chance that you'd be willing to potentially use us as a manager. And we've done that before, right? So things like that. So the production and the social media aspect, like we dump a lot of money in Facebook ads, like $5,000+ like that money, like it doesn't make sense for one property, right? But when you have 100 or more, now I can use that social media to help drive direct bookings across the whole portfolio. And I can showcase the properties and not rely only on Airbnb and these other platforms. So having that strong network there, and even in your market, this is why legacy property managers are able to hold such a stronghold in their markets, is because they have this crazy list of emails of people that have that travel there, right? That's super valuable. So how do you get that email list so you can charge and be a little bit more price elastic, right? Charge more money for that kind of stuff. Yeah, I know I've been talking a lot, but anything you guys want to chime in on any of that?
I mean, just your thought. The additional services, I think, is a great idea, and the production connections. And for folks that are just listening and are like, "Well, I don't live near LA, right? I'm not going to get photo shoots." I was just thinking of my market. My market's got some of the best fishing in the world. And I'm like, well, I don't have any relationships with anybody that does the excursions or does like offshore fishing. So like, I need to find somebody down there that does that, right? And I couldn't agree more with your the email list and the social media. The bigger brand that you can build in your market, that's the number one objection I get for my market is, hey, Blue Water has a 20,000 person email list. How big is yours? I'm like,
Yeah,
well, it's 2,000, but that's not what matters, right? But still, they're able to sell that because that's valuable. I agree.
it is. So now, Mike, the question is, how do you compete with somebody like that where your email list is only 2,000, there's 20, and theirs is 20,000? What can you do that? I mean, look, this is the thing that's crazy is the owners don't know that that email list doesn't matter if you can't sell it at a higher premium, right? And you know that you can sell it at a higher premium. But the problem is, how are you going to compete with that? They're going to say, well, look, they have 20,000, 30,000 followers on Instagram. How many do you have? And it's like, you don't have that. And so even if it's perceived value, it's still something that people care about, and it's something that you should care about. Um, so that's kind of how I look at it. And I agree with the whole excursion thing, by the way. But I will say also, it doesn't hurt to put your properties on PeerSpace. It doesn't hurt to put your properties on Gigster. You're gonna get hits. People get hits for the most random stuff. People have, a really nice I think it was like the roof, the way the roof looked with this glass. It was kind of like an A-frame vibe of the cabin. Like they took a picture for like a still shoot for a magazine. It's like, okay, well, I just got paid additional thousands of dollars for that. You never know what production is going to want to see. And these production companies are all across the country. So I I do know that you can 100% do that as like just an actionable item just to tell people, hey, listen, I go on these sites, and maybe you'll get one or two or three, and you can actually talk more intelligently about, hey, we can potentially get a few here and there. People like to make their properties feel like it's so special, right? You want to give that kind of illusion. And so obviously, and that also, those connections, those people still keep coming back to you. So once you get one, you start getting that relationship, and now you can start developing a good flow of traffic.
How does one develop relationships like that? So if somebody feels like they have some great properties, and they're like, I see Patryk is being featured on Netflix and all kinds of places, where does one kind of, where do you start? Like, what would you tell yourself now looking back? Like, what have been some key things that you have done that have helped you really gain that exposure to network and production companies that other people can do?
Yeah, for sure. So I think the PR side is very different. Like we've gotten featured in Netflix, like Wall Street Journal, like New York Times, that and Arc Digest and Dwell and all of those different sites. Like I think we've been across many of them. But that does different, right? So we get like publicists and different people that are writers within those organizations, and we have relationships with them, and then we'll get reoccurring like, hey, this new build's coming in. Would you like to check it out? Maybe you can write a piece on it down the line if you're interested in it, like that kind of stuff. So they'll come to us because we'll know what's getting built in the market before they even get to it. So I'm like, hey, just so you know, there's this house coming in. They've spent $5 million in this house. It's amazing. I definitely think you should check it out. So stuff like that is the PR side. In terms of the film production stuff, the one thing that a lot of people don't realize is that the industry with production is very disconnected from the industry with Airbnbs, for example. A lot of times they don't realize that there's a lot of options on Airbnb that will fit what they're looking for. And sometimes they will go on Airbnb and they'll check like, hey, what's out there. But they don't know if the owners are going to say yes or no to that. So it's a lot of work for them to ask all these owners, and they don't know if it's going to be allowed or not. And it's just a mess. However, what you can do is you can go to location scouts. Those are the people that are putting production into your houses. So location scout websites, there's directories across the whole country. Find the local city that, if you're in a more drive-to destination, find the local city. Like for example, I was in Smith Lake, Alabama. And I found out that Smith Lake, Alabama, that's where Bill's property was when we did the co-hosting retreat. And that one is in like pretty close to Atlanta. And Atlanta is a huge production hub. And so you can just go to Atlanta, and even Birmingham has like a location scout that just serves the Birmingham area, right? So now you can go up to that person, you can literally reach out to them and say, hey, listen, I have this property. I would love to get on your list, and then try to maintain that relationship by following up with them and like seeing what's happening and when's the high season, what kind of stuff they're looking out for. So a lot of times I'll tell the production people, I'm like, listen, like if I don't have it, I might know somebody that has it because I'm pretty connected with Airbnb hosts in this area. So like I'm happy to refer out something if you're looking for a specific vibe. And it'll be the most random stuff. You guys don't know like what you have or what you don't have. Like for example, like when I was showing all these houses, I'm like, there's no way they're gonna want this house, but like let's just show them anyways. So we showed them this one house, and they're like, oh my God, this is perfect. I'm like, what do you mean it's perfect? And they're like, this house, like I thought it was like an average. I'm like, oh, this is like middle of the line house in our portfolio, but we can check it out because it's on the way. They're like, "Oh, no, 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 this is amazing. This is be perfect for," we had somebody come in that wanted, this thing, and it was perfect. It's like very Italian vibe. Like this, we get a lot of requests like this. You never know, right? So asking them those questions and probing that, it definitely helps.
So changing gears just a little bit, I want to go back to the first WealthCon where you and I met. I think it was 2021 or
Yeah.
maybe 2022. And you had just built a partnership with Josh, your main partner now. For our listeners who are thinking about finding a partner to help them build a co-hosting business or help build a real estate business, what advice would you give them? Because I've really respected y'all's relationship. I think you guys work really, really well together and kind of ding and dong really well together. So what advice would you give listeners on partnerships in general when building business?
Yeah, great question. I guess this is very similar to marriage advice. And I don't know if I feel like once you get into partnership with somebody, it's like a marriage. You got to know how they are as a person, and how they work in business, but also you're going to be spending a lot of time with this person. You're going to probably spend as much, if not more, than your partners, your wives or husbands, but pretty much. Um, what I would say is I believe in the foundation first. So the foundation for both of us is very much we trust each other. And I think that is such a basic thing, but trust is everything. If you don't trust me, and developing that trust takes time, but like small things like, like for example, we get a refund from an insurance company, and it's like $500, and the insurance company for both of our property, but it's in my name. I could have easily taken that money and just scanned it in and just taken $500. He would never have known. Like he just, you know, but the first inclination was not that. My first inclination was to just tell him about it and then just put it in our account. Even though I didn't know where the check came from, but I found out. I went through the hoops and I was like, oh, this is for this property. Okay, I own that with Josh. I'm gonna let him know. And that small little thing he noticed, and he was like, dude, like, I appreciate you doing that. You could have just stolen the money. Like, because you never know, but it's like such a nominal amount, but it just builds trust, right? Over time, you want to show that, like, hey, we're in this together. So trust, communication, a big one. We talk every single day. And then also, like, obviously those are the fundamentals, but then on a more holistic level, did this person have the yin and yang with me, right? Does this person do things that, would help support what we're trying to build together? And I believe that Josh does. Josh does really well in certain things that I don't do really well in, and vice versa. I think, if you told Josh to hop on stage and speak in front of a group of people, I mean, I think he could do it, but that's not like his thing. That's more of a me thing. But once again, you tell Josh to put him in a high stress situation to make incredibly hard decisions on the fly. He's probably going to be pretty good at that. Really good at that. For me, decisions are great. I'm good at decision making, but in the moment, how many decisions you have to make a day and how fast he moves, it helps. But once again, I'm a little slower on decisions. So now I can stress test the stuff and then find things that are maybe, oh, that decision wasn't really that good. I know you're trying to make a fast decision, but let's think this through. Maybe there's another way we can do it. And you see that yin and yang, like you start noticing those things. I think one thing that really helps is the predictive index. So anybody that can like predictive index is a personality test. And a lot of times you want to find somebody that complements your personality. And the test we have everybody in our team take that test. And I always have everybody in the team take the test before we even hire them, because there's certain personality types that aren't really good for hospitality, and or aren't really good for the specific roles that we're trying to hire those people for. So, like Mavericks, for example, Josh is a Maverick. Mavericks are very in the clouds, very, very in the clouds. And, those people are great in leadership roles, but those people are not the best in roles where you kind of have them, do a specific tasks, because they're maybe not as detail oriented or whatever. Right. So, you got to know where to put the people. You got to put the right people in the right seats. And I think that's been a huge thing of building our business and that partnership that we have. That's been so great. Yeah.
I love it. That was a great answer. Where does Patryk go to next? So with property management, number 4, right? You're gonna be at what, 150 listings. What are you having fun with? Like, what are some of the thoughts that you're entertaining now in terms of like looking at the future?
Yeah. I think what's really been most exciting for me in the future has become the idea of obsessing over being the best. And what I mean by that is not not the whole idea of, oh, the best, like, in the whole country. I'm not looking to become the biggest. I'm looking to become the best. And what I mean by that is like Joshua Tree and my local region, whatever that region is, I want to become the best manager that I can possibly become. And I want our clients to have so much value from what we're building that it's undisputed that we build the best hospitality that we can ever build. And we maintain the highest. I want to be on that list when you look at, okay, the review scores compared to the hospitality that's been giving, and really focusing on the niche of the high level hospitality, and doing things that nobody else is able to do. I just want to become a really good manager. I want to become really good at hospitality, and I just want that title. It's not a title really. It's just more of get 1% better every day, right? Get the reps in. Just learn from other industries, learn from adjacent industries like the hospitality industry and the hotel industry. How can we create loyalty around our customers and get them to keep coming back to us? How do we get metrics for like our reviews to be as high as possible, beyond what's even out there across the country? How do we, build a team that loves what they're doing every single day and they never burn out, right? Like, there's so many things to work on, and I feel like there's just never going to be an end to that. And as you get more inventory, the problems get tougher to solve at scale. And so the challenges definitely unfold the bigger you get, because you're building a company and you're in that weird in between phase where you have a lot of generalists, but you want to build a lot more specialists. And there's just a lot of things going on from a business perspective that, if I, as a person, like at the end of the day, I think what's really important, and I think this is like the one takeaway I think I want everyone to take from this podcast, is that what we're doing today will translate into tomorrow. And what I mean by that is, every day that you build your co-hosting business, you're not just building on the understanding of hospitality or whatever, just something that can work in this industry, but something that can work for years to come. You're becoming better business people, better leaders in your communities, better communicators, better partners, right? Everything you do transcends into everything else in your life. The better that I can be as a partner to Josh, the better that I can be as a partner to my girlfriend and to my future wife and to my future kids, and the better leader I can be for my future kids, right? So I'm just building on to myself and just trying to build as many skill sets as I can to become the best person possible. And that's been my goal personally.
I love it. So for people that want to experience your level of hospitality, where can people find out more about you guys, book your property? Give us all the good stuff.
Yeah, no, for sure. You can check out our website. It's the co-host company. So the THE co-host company.com. You can check out our properties. I'd love to host you. Please let me know if you're coming and you've heard about it through this podcast or the like. And I'm just, I'm really excited to meet a lot more people. If people want to learn and or want to just ask me some questions about how we're doing things in our market, like I'm an open book. Please, please, please reach out to me. You can reach out to me on Instagram, Patryk, Patryk_SWI. You'll be able to find me, and I'm looking forward to connecting.
Amazing. And then Patryk, the last question we ask all of our guests, and I'm curious to hear your answer this time around, is what's your number one secret to success with short-term rentals?
The number one secret is knowing you, Poppy. No, but jokes aside, I think the community. I 100%. Everyone here, like Mike, Emmanuel, like just the people in this industry make you feel a little bit more sane, because they're going through the same things that you're going through. And a lot of times when you're around people in your circles, you start realizing that you grow in a different direction than them in a lot of times. So being in the right rooms and being around the right people that have the same mentality, and same growth perspective and same situations as you is very comforting. But also it's really nice to be able to understand what's working for them and what's not, because you're always looking to grow and make yourself better. So I think the number one is getting in the right rooms.
But as always, Patryk, this was such a great conversation, and I know that our listeners have definitely enjoyed it. And we look forward to having you back on once you cross your, let's say 200, right? I think like 200 would be a great metric to have you back on and see what else you've learned, you know?
Okay. That's a challenge. I'll do my best.
So awesome, guys. Well, we hope you enjoy the show, and we'll see you next week. Ciao, guys.